you know who else it's a happy Friday
Happy
for?
Friday.
Steve Kerr. Because he's going to give you some good news right now if you're a Warriors fan. Listen to Steve Kerr, NBA
Friday,
on ESPN
Max.
Radio. That's right. Friday. More good news for Warriors fans, according to Kerr. Listen.
Steph fully expects to play. Horford rolled on top of him during the scrum for the loose ball, and I don't really know the extent of the injury. He's not going in for an MRI or anything like that, and he says he'll be ready to go, so I believe him.
It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Jay, I mean, it's Friday. We should be relaxed, having a good time. But go ahead, start making your sports point.
It was funny. I was talking to one of my boys yesterday, and living in New York City for as long as I have, I've had moments when I've been younger where you're out, you're hanging out, you're walking around, and you step off the curb, and you don't see it, you're not paying attention maybe, and you roll your ankle, right? And it happened to one of my boys, and his ankle literally was black and blue for like a week. And he's like, man, like this high ankle sprain, just can't get off it, right? And we were talking like, so you had that happen to you like a couple of years ago. It took you a week to get over it. Now imagine somebody 6'9", 240 pounds falling on your ankle. Even though you can say, hey, it's not as bad as it was, 2 months ago when Marcus Smart dove on your ankle that forced you to be out for a long time. For a guy that moves around off the ball as much as Steph moves throughout the course of a game, you talk about the term perpetual motion. That is Steph Curry in a nutshell, right? It's almost like he moves in an infinity-like state. He's always moving around. So for a guy that pushes off, I really do think he'll have a lot of shorts tonight initially, that shots that will be short because of his ankle or his foot being stiff. Now, he can settle into the game, but I think initially, who else is going to pick up the slack for them offensively and come out and help carry the load at the beginning of the game? Because I think Steph is going to be tender for him.
Yeah, when a guy usually has some sort of ankle injury, the first initial jolt is always painful. So you're going to see the grimace. You're going to see the calm nature of the pain, but laying on the floor or laying on the field and see the grimace. So the first thing you're going to say is, oh, my God, it really looks egregious. There's something really wrong with it. Mind you, he did stay in the game. The only reason why he came out the game is because, as Steve Kerr pointed out, they're down by 14 points, 2 minutes to go. Why would you keep him in the game? You just get him out of the game, rest him up. That's why immediately after the game, Steph Curry said, I think I'm going to play on Friday. And now, as of yesterday, we know he's going to play today. So I'm not overly worried as much as Jay is about those sort of things, because Jay's looking at the motion, the ability for him to be able to move around and stay quick like he's been in the past. I think he still will be that guy, because once he told me on Thursday he was going to play basically on Friday, I knew it wasn't that deep and that serious.
So a couple of things, Max. When you roll your ankle, and I've rolled my ankle many a times and have stayed in games, your adrenaline is so high, right? You're like, oh, I'll stay in it. And you typically strap your shoe up tighter, right? You make your ankle brace tighter in order to keep the swelling down. It's typically the day afterwards where you start getting that ankle tightness. And for me, if it's his left leg, if anything defensively now, if I'm Boston, I'm forcing him to be a driver, right? Because think about it, as a righty, he's jumping off that left leg every single time. So is your lift the same as it was before? Or now you're doing more things off 2 feet that slows you down? So once again, I'm not letting you get going in transition. I'm not letting you get shots. I'm forcing you to be a driver jumping off that left leg.
Not only is it normally, I think everyone can relate to not a high ankle sprain necessarily, but some kind of rolling of your ankle. And when think of how much worse a high ankle sprain is. Even if you just roll your ankle kind of just for a second, like, you might be limping for the rest of the day. But a high ankle sprain, boy, you're out of commission. And I'm not saying he has one, but
is it his ankle or is it his foot?
His foot.
His foot.
It's his foot.
So it's a totally different injury than a foot is totally different than an ankle. It's not the same.
Yeah,
and by the way that they landed on him, it didn't really look like his ankle.
And it didn't look like he'd be missing time or something like that.
No.
It didn't look like that. But
it just looked hard because the dude's big.
But this series, we've seen Steph play great and really not get timely contributions from teammates that you'd want. Now, I mean, Steph is always like the engine of a team, right? He's the guy making it happen. But in this series in particular, he's had to make it happen, and sometimes that hasn't been enough because he hasn't had contributions. Now, guys, really probably going to have to pick up the slack, Jay, according to your analysis of it.
Well, somebody's going to have to pick up the slack.
Maybe more than one, right?
for them to win this damn series. I mean, let's be honest about it. Boston looks like a younger, more energetic team. Now, granted, Golden State has been in all these games. So Golden State, game 1, had a double-digit lead before Jaylen Brown goes crazy in the fourth quarter, right? Game 2, they come out, they put their stamp on game 2. Draymond plays his tail off, they win that ball game. Game 3, Boston comes out, they play hard from the beginning, but still, third quarter run, Golden State's there. But I would make this point, because a lot of people say, well, Golden State always seems like they're there. Let's give them an advantage. I don't know if Golden State is not as battle-tested over the last month and a half, 2 months, the way Boston has been battle-tested. It almost seems like Boston is more comfortable playing the game in the trenches because they've gone through KD, Kyrie, they've gone through Giannis, they've gone through Jimmy Butler and that team of the Miami Heat.
Golden
and how
State hasn't had
it is.
to do anything like that
They
recently.
haven't gone through that.
Yeah.
Denver, you're talking about Dallas. Like, it hasn't been those.
That's so
Memphis
interesting.
was that a little bit, but Ja Morant going out, it changed that series.
That's so interesting because you think automatically Golden State's the more experienced team. But, Key, it's kind of like when you talk about, they had time off, but they had too much time off. Like, Golden State's more experienced, but right now, in terms of the rhythm of the game, actually, Boston has been more consistently battle-tested. They're maybe a little bit more ready as a result of that. One of the things that struck me yesterday, that we didn't get into yesterday, was Draymond having that really bad game. But, it was hidden in plain sight for me. We spent all of the show after game 2, the three of us, talking about what you do if you're Boston. Do you send Marcus Smart out there to try to be the bully, right? To set the tone. Does that box Draymond? Because if Boston does that and then teams are warned, now Draymond can't retaliate. Key, you were like, man, they're going to talk to the players before this game, make sure it doesn't get too chippy and out of control. But all of that, to me, I don't know if it led to or not. You tell me. That was the prologue. Then the game starts, and Draymond doesn't play with force, as he said. After game 3, he said, I didn't play with force. How much of that was because after game 2, it was such a big deal about his antics in game 2?
That could be the case. I mean, it could be the case where he was, even though he said what he said on his podcast or in his interviews about he's got to be Draymond Green and play a certain way, but if the coaches or whoever is walking up to you and telling you know what, they're watching you tonight, be careful because they're not going to put up with this. It could take something away from them. It could have. That could very well be the case. But I don't want to lose sight of they lose to Boston in the second half of a game, and all of a sudden we starting to act as though we're finding every excuse as to why Golden State is going to lose this particular series, where after game 2 we found every excuse to talk about why they're going to win it. I don't want to be that guy.
Here's what
switching
Draymond
and blowing like the wind.
Here's what Draymond had to say. It has been a series that has blown back and forth so far, but this is what Draymond had to say about what he needs to do differently in game 4.
I approached the game differently. Everything else fall into play. There's no big X and O adjustment in the NBA Finals. You know what they do. They know what you do. Now who's going to go play with the more force and win the game? They did that tonight. We got to come out and do that on Friday.
So if I'm Dre, what I'm trying to do, if I'm Steve Kerr, first off, I'm going to utilize my bench more. I'm going to get younger guys in the game to spell minutes for my older guys in Kuminga and also Moses Moody. And secondly, and more importantly, I'm going to increase the tempo of the game. Like, Golden State needs to find ways in which they can score easily. That has to happen in transition. How do you get Draymond Green going? You force him on rebounds or after made shots. You push that damn ball down the court as fast as possible. You get shots, you go momentum, but it also starts for him on the defensive end. But playing faster is what they need to do.
Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. Yes, the Warriors need Draymond Green to get in the zone tonight in Game 4. Get in the Zone is brought to you by AutoZone.
There
Get
it
in the
is.
Zone, AutoZone. One franchise heading toward a dynasty? What would you call it? While another is heading toward the end of one after Jay has this from FanDuel.
Can we win this series first?
Yeah, I know.
Is
Can
that-
they win a single title first? Yeah.
The NBA Finals are here, and so is your chance to score on FanDuel Sportsbook. Throughout the NBA Finals, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in free bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You can do everything now. Bet the money line, point spreads, player props, and so much more. Just sign up with promo code PLAY. That's PLAY. Join today with promo code PLAY and turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets. Win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel